reasons why I really don't give a fork about the male loneliness crisis is because them being lonely is going to save our lives. Okay? That's what's going to happen. And let me tell you what. Women are the shock absorbers of men, right? I just saw a video today, and I can't play it because I don't want to get a copyright violation on YouTube. But Dr. Mate is talking about autoimmune diseases. 80% of autoimmune diseases are women. Shocker. And he was talking about this very thing. That even that his wife pushed back on that and had to work hard to not let him put his own stress or depression or anything he's going through on her. Because that's what men do. And he also referenced a study in Sweden where talking about how women's pregnancy was more affected by men's depression than the actual mother's depression. Whether it was early or whatever, I don't know. Go watch the video. The point being is that we take a hit when men are not feeling good. And these grumpy pants, little grumpy pants, who just, they can be like so happy. A little clown at work, out in the community. Ugh, he's like, I'm so done. I'm going to go lay down. These men can be just such a joy to be around until they turn that key to their front door and then the whole family's on edge. And everyone in that house has a thermometer up the butt of daddy. Now, do women do this sometimes? Absolutely. Every time I talk about this, people are like, well, my mom was like that. I know women who've been like this, okay? What I'm saying, though, is that with men's bad moods comes the long history of violence, okay? I'm not saying that women can't be unbelievably violent. Absolutely can be. As a white woman, I know this for sure. I know my past, my people's past and present. Violence takes many forms. With men, there is also the extra part of them unaliving us at alarming rates for a very long time, right? And if they don't just outright, then they do it through our nervous system or, we get so sick being with these men. Now, I'm not saying you can't get sick being with a woman who's weaponizing her moods. Absolutely. Google women mother annihilators. Mothers who have annihilated their whole family. How often do women unalive their husbands? Okay, go look at that statistic and then you'll know why I'm talking about this. Because men have more power over us financially, systemically. Where are you going? Huh? Where are you going? Financially, they can use the courts against us, and they do. Ask any woman who's been in court over custody stuff. They use the courts. These men don't even, they only go to jail if they literally unalive us with lots of evidence. They can grape us, they can do whatever they want, and they probably won't suffer any consequence. In fact, they'll probably just find another family. But all those men, I like to call it quiet rage. The men with the quiet rage, the brewing. My dad was like that. Never, ever laid a finger on me physically, right? With the violence, that kind of way. But I was scared. I was so scared of that man. When he was in a mood, woo! Everyone's on edge, right? That stuff makes you sick because of the way women have been conditioned to to nurture, take care of, make all these people, everyone else's problem, our problem to solve, right? Infantilize men because they won't literally act like adults. So we have to start treating them like children, and then they're they always try to make us into their mom. Even when we don't want to be their mom, they'll do some stuff and you're like, oh, you're making me your mom, aren't you? Yeah, that's what you're doing. Stop it! So this stuff is literally making us sick. Now I'm going to go over a couple studies in a sec, but just in case, so I don't forget this. One of the things that I have noticed is that so many men who really want to fight patriarchy, right? They really want to stop this stuff. And if you are one of those men, let me tell you something. The number one thing you need to do is take care of yourself. That is the baseline. That is the least you can do. I don't need you at the protests. I don't need you doing all this other stuff. Take care of yourself. If you are living with a woman especially, take care of yourself. Because when you're not doing well, she can't thrive the way she's supposed to. Because, I mean, like, I have like a whole separate room. Like, that, they talk about man caves. Why do they get a cave? They literally occupy all the spaces in the house as if they're their own, right? I mean, I don't even mean physically. I mean, if they watch TV, it's oftentimes what they want to watch. And they turn it up so loud. they occupy space with their noise and their presence and the way they sit and the way they man spread, right? It's like they just like pee all over everything, right? And then on top of that, they get a cave. They get a cave. We need the cave. And you know why? Because we're the ones who can't take that thermometer up out of their butt. Our nervous system won't let us do it. And we need a place to shut the door. They literally, Virginia Woolf wrote a whole book about this. Women need money and a place of their own, a room of their own, a closet of their own. Literally any space where these porkers can't come in and invade ours with their dumb questions or their, hey, can you watch the kids that I made you have? Or whatever. Just needy, right? And even if they're not, even if they're leaving us alone, if they are in the same house and they're not doing well, woo! No one in that house is doing well. Again, I'm not saying that women and like mothers or mother-in-law, grandma can't have this impact. What I'm saying is that when men are like that, they have a whole system behind them to reinforce that, also to keep you trapped in that, no way out of that. And it's so normalized for us to just absorb all of their crap. And then also knowing, like that they could literally take our life at any moment. We hope they don't. But the most dangerous person in your life is the one in your home. Whether it is your husband, your dad, grandpa, uncle who comes to visit, brothers. Brothers are a lot of women's first bullies. Or even now, your own son. Which is another reason why to decenter men, including your son, because these guys, when women won't marry them, they're going to come home. The little peckers are coming home to roost, and they're going to unalive you, mom, who birthed them. That's some audacity right there. And because we have, I don't know how you can be a woman who's been raised under patriarchy. If you're conditioned and raised as a woman, how you are automatically going to be on the pick-me spectrum. We are all pick-me's, okay? I'm sorry. We are on some level, some of it to literally survive out in the world. But some of us who had it in our home are like that in all of our relationships, right? And it has been reinforced through everything we read, everything we watch. Because who owns the media? Rich white men, right? So even if you grew up in a very healthy family, everything you watched has been like countering that. Even if your dad was not the king baby, who everyone walked on eggshells around, you got one at work, or you got one in your friend group, or something. You can't get away from this, right? So on some level, we kind of have to do this to not die. To not die, right? And the more intersections that you're at, the more marginalized you are, the worse it is, right? Of course. But it's kind of funny because, even my husband kind of loses sight every once in a while because he's like the really nurturing one of the two of us. I'm kind of like a cold-hearted bird. Not really. That's judgmental, Melanie. But I'm like the Sagittarius fire, right? Like I'm like the tornado rainbow. I mean, I literally forget to be like, are you okay? Like I forget to be affectionate, whatever. So he's the nurturing energy in this house. But sometimes he forgets that what I need more than anything, than any of that nurturing is for him to make sure he is taking care of himself. Because if he's not doing well, he can cook me all the dinners he wants. He can love on me and be so affectionate and care for me. But if I'm worried about him, I'm not doing okay. I can't feel okay. And a lot of men don't get that. A lot of men don't understand how far up their butt our thermometer is. They just don't get it. They don't get it. They because that's not how most, unless they grew up like with a narcissist or in a system like that, they don't understand how hyper focused, how hyper vigilant we are in the presence of men. Like they don't get it because they haven't had to be that way in the presence of women. As a collective, maybe individually, but as a collective, they have never had to do that. So they don't understand that we can't just unplug from them. We can't. I would love to. I'm getting better at it. I'm learning how to regulate my nervous system better. I'm learning to, sit with stuff and all that stuff. But I have to close the door, right? I have to, because if he wakes up in a bad mood because he's a Pisces, and his dreams. Y'all Pisces are like fascinating. Your dreams are so important to you. And if he has like really bad dreams, it takes him a minute to recover from that. And if he wakes up like traumatized by a dream or something, I'm like, uh-oh, gotta get away, because then I'm all like, right? And that's the root of codependency, right? Like hinging my well-being on someone else's, hinging who my value, my everything on someone else. That's codependency, right? And I think we can all be codependent on some level, and women especially are absolutely raised to be on the spectrum of codependency. But those of us who have it from childhood, because it was so much in our home, like we can't just be like, you know what, let him do that, right? And at the same time, what I can't do, which is what I used to try to do, and this is why I became a little clown. I do not think it's a coincidence that I became a comedian and a performer. I mean, besides the fact that I'm the second child and listening to other parents be like, I want a second child to entertain the first one. I'm like, what? Is that why I'm here? Is that why all the second children are here, is to be a little jester for your first one? Like, okay, cool. I mean, I get it, but also like, I can't believe y'all say that out loud, because I think there's a lot of truth to it. Anyway, I've said that about, he's like, oh, she's talking about me again. Sometimes I think we should get a second dog so that he is not so freaked out when we leave him alone. But I was like, yeah, that's not a good reason to get a second dog. We have to want a second dog. Anyway, but besides that, I think one of the main reasons why I became a comedian is I'm a master at understanding how people are feeling and trying to cheer them up, right? Like, why do you think so many comedians are so messed up? That's why I would never date a comedian. With the exception, some of my guy friends are comedians and they are wonderful people, but they're in a lot of therapy and they're working through their stuff. But a lot of men who are comedians, there is so much stuff they're not dealing with, because they think, and a lot of women do this too, just talking about it on stage, just making people laughing at stuff, is healing. And like that is part of healing, but that alone ain't healing. Because I've told a lot of my stories on stage over 10 years ago, and I would absolutely not tell them the same way, because I was like, oh, look at that. That's guarded Melanie trying to laugh at Grape instead of actually taking it a little bit more seriously before the joke, right? So a lot of women end up being like, especially as men, the less friends men have, we are their entertainers. We take on the role of cheering them up and, giving them that pep talk. Like, we're not only they're like free, all these other things, right? Domestic labor, all this crap, right? Free schmegs worker, because that's how a lot of them see us and treat us. And no shade to schmegs workers at all. But a lot of us are literally free entertainment for these men. They come home and they're like, And then we're like, well, maybe you should do that. Maybe, well, maybe la 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 la. Oh, ha 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 ha. A lot of us have this like so much positive energy. Some of it is because we literally hinge our safety and existence on making sure that the king baby is okay. But other times it's like, I'm a genuinely happy person most of the time. I don't know why. I love life. I'm very curious. I love talking to people. I have a good sense of humor. So many things make me laugh. I get so excited about life. And luckily, no man has been able to take that from me, although it's been really close, right? And there is nothing that could be worse for someone like me than having a Mr. Grumpy Pants in my home. I already did that. That little hobo. You know, the hobo who moved into my home. Wow, he was, I have never, like, people literally didn't recognize me. They'd be like, I drove by you today and I didn't even recognize you because I was like, all the life force, the positive energy was just sucked out of me, right? Because I just, like, literally was just like, wait, don't be mad, right? So a lot of, so many women are just like, they're just like, have this fire and excitement and want to connect with people. And then there's a man in their house and he's just like, he's jealous of her happiness. So many men are so jealous of women's happiness that they literally want to squash it because they don't know how to find that. Rather than appreciating that and being like, wow, they're just like, well, she's so happy about, right? They are like killjoys, little Derek Downers. And so like for any men who follow me, if you really want to fight this system, stop making your partner or any of the women, especially in your home, the shock absorber of your crap. Work on yourself. Go to therapy, don't just go run a marathon. You're just running from your problems, right? Literally running. Don't go hike the mountain. That stuff is good. Exercise is great. Never gonna argue against that. But if you're not doing the deep, deep work, you are slowly unaliving your partner. You are, especially if she has boundary issues and is like more farther this way on the codependency spectrum. Focus on taking care of yourself, because anytime men do not take care of themselves, whether it's their physical health or mental health, if they're putting themselves in harm's way, she's gonna be the one to clean it up. That's why I'm like, these like outdoor adventure dudes are like, I'm just gonna do all this stuff. And then they get injured. And now she has to take care of him for months, right? All the things, when men are reckless, when they are depressed, when they're not doing well, the women in their lives are going to suffer more consequences than those men, right? And that is why they are freaking out about the mental illness crisis. Men are like, who's gonna absorb all the stress? Not me. Not me. Men are freaking out because they're used to having these shock absorbers around who will like make everything better despite their grumpiness. There's just like a dark cloud comes into the house, right? And a lot of women are realizing, I would rather literally be alone until I die than be tied to Mr. Grumpy Pants. Mr. Grumpy Pants. Because Mr. Grumpy Pants wields so much power in that house, right? And is slowly unaliving her. Not just that, they are affecting the health of the baby that she's carrying. They're even their baby gravy's all messed up. Men's unhealthy lifestyles and their habits, like smoking and drinking and doing all that stuff, that's always going to affect her on some level more than him, right? He may get lung cancer. Who's going to take care of him? That's why do not date men with addictions. You will literally suffer more from their addictions than they will themselves, just because of the systems of power and patriarchy, right? And the funny thing is they're all like, men's depression, men's mental health, men are unaliving themselves. Y'all have never cared about this. We are way more depressed than y'all. All of the science shows it. The gender gap of depression. We actually have legitimate reasons to be depressed. During puberty, pregnancy, all this is happening. Oh, and then postpartum, so then there's all that happening. Oh, and then the 10 years of perimenopause and menopause, all that's happening. We're either crying all the time or we're run by this dude. All just because of hormones. And this is the last one they mentioned. Life circumstances and culture. I'd argue this is an even bigger one. But we have all those reasons that we are literally have more, our body is like, all the time, right? And then we have this. We have EDs, we have anxiety, we have because we're dealing with so many things, but mostly men. And then if you have racism, ableism, homophobia, transphobia, any of those other things on top of that, then you're even more forked. And then you have all this stuff like, power and status, relatively speaking, work overload, because we're doing all the work too. Like at home and at work, because these forkers turn us into their moms at work too. Cookie's my coffee. You take the note. And then they take all the credit, right? We talked about this. They do all this crap at work. Parental and physical abuse, right? I don't think I know a single woman who has not been outright violently raped or at the bare minimum coerced. But every woman I know has had SA on some level. On some level. You could never convince me that every woman does not know this. And anyone who was raised as a woman or female presenting, right? And a lot of men have this too. But you guys always try to hijack the conversation when we talk about it. What that mean? What that mean? Yeah, I care about you more than you care about you. But I ain't gonna center you. And then on top of that, we're tired. We have to fight all the time for everything. Right? Oh, great. Now I gotta fight for abortion again. Thought that one was in the clear. No. Gotta go back out. We gotta fight, right? We're so tired of dealing with men. Like literally men make every area of our life harder. And while we're out there fighting or helping our friend get out of a violent relationship or all the crap, helping our friends who are dealing with men, you're sitting at home playing video games. Oh, look at you, having fun, not a care in the world. And then when we come home, you're grumpy pants. What do you have to be grumpy about? Huh? Because capitalism isn't treating you very well? Well, join the club. Now, they saw this in Psychology Today, how one unhappy partner can drag the other one down. They did not do a gendered study, though, like usual. So I would argue that this is like at least 10 times worse for women. If you have a grumpy pants Derek Downer in your home, or who just clearly doesn't like you, and like you have to be nervous around, this is so much worse. But yeah, you never convince me that if a man is with a woman who is just like pissed all the time and resentful and like plays the victim, that she won't impact him. I will never say that it's just men who do this. I will never say that. What I am saying is that when men are not doing okay, it is so much worse. All the reasons I just spent 20 minutes talking about. They talk about it, and they've been doing studies on this. When one partner had a bad mood, the other one did too. And it also says that bad is stronger than good. So it's a lot easier to impact someone in a bad way than in a good way, right? It is so much easier for someone in a bad mood to pull the other person down than for someone in a good mood to pull the other person up, right? I mean, you first of all, I'm not saying that there's nothing wrong with like trying to cheer your partner. I mean, that's like duh, right? We're here, Anthony cheers me up. I cheer him up. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. What I'm saying is that if the dynamic in the relationship is he's always Mr. Grumpy Pants and you're, little clown, you're dying. Your system, maybe it'll never impact you fully that way, but it is not good for your health. And more importantly, what is the point? What is the point? It's so much better to be alone than be with a man who constantly, it just spoils your good moods. And one way they also spoil your good moods is just by not doing what they should do, by making you feel small and not valued and only useful in the bedroom and for all your labor, but not you. That'll spoil that. That'll make you feel awful too. But I'm talking about just them being moody Derek Downers. That alone, it's exhausting. And they said, in this part right here, I'm not gonna read it all. They're like, yeah, in the beginning you can still maintain a good mood after a while, but the longer you're in that relationship, the harder it is to maintain your joy when somebody is just like, grumpy me king baby. Basically, the summary is that well-being is contagious. Romantic partners' happiness levels tended to become more similar over time. However, rather than the two partners meeting somewhere in the middle, right? So if you got one grumpy pants, one happy pants, instead of, meeting each other halfway, what tends to happen is the less happy partner had an outsized influence. As with many other psychological phenomena, the good outweighs the bad, and the less happy partner tends to bring the happier partner down. Sometimes This is not a gendered issue, but I'm telling you, if you are with a man who tends to be grumpy, and a lot of times they're grumpy because they're just so entitled, they're bored. They need something to be mad about. And also just because they hate themselves, right? Because like patriarchy teaches these men to hate themselves anyway. The whole binary crap teaches us all to hate ourselves, right? But at least women are taught the skills to have close relationships and grow together more. Whereas men, if they're just little grumpy pants, they're going to stay grumpy pants. Because being vulnerable and asking for help or admitting that you're just not a minor, you need help, they don't want to do that, right? But who suffers the most from that? We do. And that, among other reasons, was why they are freaking out. What do these women don't want a man? They're even passing laws that a woman can't, who's pregnant can't divorce. I'm telling you, these men are the baby trappers. I'm not saying women have never baby trapped. And usually that's because of their own codependency anyway. Like they may have wanted the baby, but as soon as the baby comes, they're like, oh crap, that was a mistake. This dude sucks. But these men want to keep us in the home. They don't want us to have money so we can leave them. They don't want us to have autonomy. They don't want us to, they want us trapped in the home because they need us. They need our labor. I even hate saying need because they don't need it. But they're so dependent on it and they feel so entitled to it that they don't know what to do without it, right? And so they just suck on the print of our whole everything. They suck our happiness out. They suck our labor out. They suck our time. And then they use us as little schmoes dolls too. And let me tell you something. I read that book, When the Body Says No by Dr. Mate. That was a very scary wake-up call for me. I was like, well, dang, this codependency is literally going to kill me. Oh, like he just turned rotisserie chicken, or more like a little piggy here in France. They do that. It's like through the butt, out the mouth. I knew that. I know they do that other places, but heads on and everything. But when I started seeing some of the research that he's done and how sick people in general are, but especially women, because the way we have been positioned in society to do this, that the more we say yes to things, the more we enable, the more codependent we are, the more like tethered we are to the moods of the men in our lives, the sicker we get. I don't know about you, but I want to live a long life. I don't want to die, especially not because of a man, right? That'd be the ultimate insult. I've come this close, right? I do not want a man impacting my well-being, including my health, ever again. And one of the biggest ways they impact me, and I didn't realize until several years ago, was their moods. That's why the stakes are high when you date men. You know what? Date men, but do not live with these men. Do not live with these men until you know them very well. Don't live with your boyfriend, because once they get in the house, they ain't ever leaving. Unless it's to cheat on you or abandon you for a whole nother family that they're not going to take care of. I'm telling you, having a man in your home, even if he would never lift a finger and hurt you, he's doing it slowly. He's playing a long game if he's not taking care of himself. And we know men don't like taking care of themselves. They don't feel like they have to. It's our job. Well, stop doing it. I don't care about men's loneliness crisis. To me, their loneliness crisis is a good sign. That means that women are centering themselves. Women are centering their lives, their health, their emotional well-being, all the things. They would literally rather be on the brink of poverty or even homeless than be in a house with a man that is slowly unaliving them. Don't let these men trap you. Not with babies, not with finances, not with anything. Because once the Derek Downer has you in the house, you ain't never leaving unless it's like pushing a mountain. And it usually requires a lot of help. But these men will cut you off from your family and your friends so that when you're ready to leave, it's really hard. And men who follow me, as much as you love your partner, if you're with a woman especially, if you are not taking care of every aspect of your health, you are patriarchying all over her. Even if you don't mean to, you're doing it. Take care of your health so she doesn't have to. Et voila! Join my Patreon if you want more personal stories than that, or if you want updates from me. The link is in bio. Comment, share, like. Thanks for listening. Bye!